Each one of us, are walking on a journey through life, dealing with our questions, either by ourselves or with others. Sometimes it's difficult to deal with our questions. Sometimes our questions are difficult. Sometimes our difficulties cause us to question. Many right now in this current pandemic are asking, where is God in all of this? Last Sunday's account in the gospel was about the disciples being locked up in the upper room out of fear, and then Jesus appeared among them. Today's gospel account is about two disciples dejectedly walking, journeying from Jerusalem to this nearby village called Emmaus. And then Jesus appears to them. The thing that is curious to me is that in today's account, the important point revolves around the recognition of Jesus. Today we find this group of disciples at first failing to recognize Jesus, and in the end, they recognize him. So we ask ourselves, what happened? Why did they at first think he was a stranger and then later come to realize who he really was? What seems to be controlling deals with the questions of how we see people. Obviously, we're not talking here about simply seeing with our eyes. We're talking rather about seeing with our hearts. We're dealing with seeing at a deeper level of knowing and understanding. That's something that we all know about, isn't it? For instance, recall how you saw and understood your parents when you were a child. Then think about how you saw your parents when you were a teenager. The way you saw them changed, didn't it? Now think about how you see your parents as an adult. It's hugely different, isn't it? What changed? Did they change or did you change? I think we all immediately know it is we who change, not our parents. Their love and care and concern for us remains constant. It was our acceptance of their love, care, and concern that went through different stages. It was the way we saw them that changed. And maybe the way we see them now is changing. Isn't that likewise true with others whom you love? Isn't it true with your friends? I think it's also true with Jesus' disciples. Huge events have a big impact on the way we see and know and understand other people. It's likely that we see now doctors and nurses and scientists and those who are on the front line, we see them totally and completely different. Those who are caring for the sick in this pandemic, we now begin to see them in a different way. Back in 1941, a number of people had some very strong views against President Roosevelt, views that were quite negative. On December 8, 1941, the day after the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor, these people saw him very differently, to say the least. Huge events like the ones the world is experiencing right now causes changes in the way we see things, the way we know things, the way we understand things. They change the way we see people. Parishioners like Henry, who is seeing Francesca now in the hospital quite differently after her first baby girl being born this weekend. And Francesca likewise seeing Henry in a different way. We see things differently now. The disciples walking on the road to Emmaus were talking about all the incredible events that had occurred surrounding the crucifixion and death of Jesus. They were terribly upset because they had thought that Jesus of Nazareth was the Messiah, that God that had sent this Jesus to save them and to redeem them from the powers that were oppressing them. And they were saying to them, what happened? They were dazed and bewildered by it all. And they were trying to make sense of it all. Where was God in all of this, they wondered. The gospel account that takes us to the one thing that opened their eyes, the event that allowed them to make all of the connections, The central piece of the puzzle that opened up their eyes. What was it? It was the breaking of the bread. The critical thing that occurred when the stranger who was among them took bread, said the blessing, broke it, gave it to them to eat. And then suddenly their eyes were opened and they were able to recognize him. They no longer saw him with just their eyes, but they saw him and recognized him with their hearts. They saw him with a newly awakened faith. They recognized him because they encountered him in a totally different light. They saw him now in that event where he promised to be with them always. Knowledge, you see, isn't based simply on acquisition of facts, information, and data. True knowledge is seeing things based on wisdom and understanding. Religious knowledge is seeing reality using the gifts of the Holy Spirit, particularly his gifts of wisdom, understanding, and knowledge. Jesus comes to you and to me in ways we least expect it. Why is it that all of the saints and seers who are part of our Catholic faith speak of God's coming to us in moments of surprise? We know that it to be true, don't we? We know that our own moments of surprise, our own moments of wonder, our own moments of sadness, anxiety, and worry, when we suddenly were aware that God's presence is with us. When out of the blue we hear what he's been saying to us, all will be okay. This is why we need time to reflect. This is why we need to take advantage of this pause button that we've been given. We need to take breaks from the news and all of the media and all of the noise. For it is in the moments of quiet reflection, when we're out for a stroll or when we're in that space we created in our home that allows us to reflect, then we will begin to see Jesus and come into a deeper awareness of his presence to us. To deny that he, in fact, is present to us is to deny the testimony of countless numbers of people who, down through 2,000 years of Christian history, tell us of their similar walks to Emmaus. Share today, what is your experience? What is your walk to Emmaus? Of the similar moments of coming to recognize Jesus and your encounter with him. We need to tell that story. May you soon have some time to make your own Emmaus awareness. And may you come to recognize him not only in the breaking of the bread, but in all those other moments where God tries to break in our time walk with us as we face all of these incredible events. Life hurdles at us. For without his presence with us, we certainly will feel depressed and defeated. Without his presence, we will not be journeying to a destination. We will simply be wandering. And so today, as we gather on this third Sunday of Easter, we reflect on this moment where we're able to understand, where we're able to take it all in and know that Jesus continues to walk with us. We are not alone. He is there. And to our surprise, his love will get us to our destination. Amen.